Where are you right now?
Right now I'm in Binghamton, New York. So I'm at a friend's house. Mhm.
Nice on
Oh,
vacation or for work?
It was just seeing a show tonight in Ithaca. So I came over to his place and we're gonna go to a concert.
Fun.
It's
what
not too far
concert?
from where I live, about 3 hours from where I live.
Nice.
So,
What's the concert you're going to go see? Do you mind if we ask?
it's a bluegrass band called Driftwood. They're kind of like locally famous. I don't know if they're outside of New York famous.
I've not heard of them, but I'm a bluegrass fan, so that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
Mhm. Very nice.
And then watching Eurovision tomorrow is the plan.
So much cultural excitement.
Yeah. I've never seen Eurovision. I've seen the movie with Will Ferrell, but I've never seen the actual thing, so it should be interesting.
Very fun. All right, those of you coming in, we are just waiting a moment for people to flow in. And while you are coming in, I thought if you would put in the chat, what are you excited to do this weekend? Which is what Mary was just answering for us right now. She didn't even know she was answering that, but she was. So pop into the chat and tell us what you're excited about for this weekend.
Can I say what I'm excited about for this
Yes.
weekend? I'm excited because Ann Tilley is having a pattern release today, and she's having a pattern release party in Durham, and we're gonna get to see each other in person. She might even come over to my house first.
Hey. Yeah, so we're gonna have a little afternoon party at one of our local fabric shops, Freeman's Creative. And I have one shirt in every size that I've made as a sample. So anyone that comes tomorrow, try the shirt on, and get an idea of how it looks.
Right.
So that's kind of a little extra bonus because you don't usually get to try a garment on before you buy the pattern. And so I still have 1.5 more to finish sewing before tomorrow, but okay.
Right.
But yeah, I just got the envelopes this morning.
Oh, nice.
So
Oh,
and I like seeing the two of them together. So now it's like,
a whole outfit.
yeah.
So cool.
Thanks for the shout out, Brooksann.
Yeah, that is super exciting. For those of you coming in and didn't hear, Anne has a pattern that's releasing today, the one that she talked about on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The Endless Summer shirt that I think she's wearing right now.
Yeah, I'm wearing one of my early prototypes, and I didn't even finish the edge very well. I think I just ran a zigzag around the bottom, but it's totally wearable. It's out of a black gauze, so super comfortable. It's not quite as hot today as it was on Wednesday. The thing about North Carolina weather is it'll kind of ebb and flow. So we got a little bit of a break this week. So,
yep. Yeah.
Me
So
too,
our
like
ones,
Northerners were like in 60s.
right. I think we all feel that way about where we live because we in Michigan, we're like, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, right? And then I was in Tennessee once and we were at some event, I don't know, some like tourist kind of space, and they're like, if you don't like the weather in Tennessee, wait 5 minutes. And I'm like, ah, we all think that.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
I'm from Texas, and so it's always like, if you don't like the weather in Texas, nobody likes the weather in Texas. And it's not getting better.
It's not changing, but nice try. I love that. So those of you coming in, the question for the chat is, what are you excited about this weekend? Dawn says starting decorative stitches on cork. That sounds exciting.
Ooh.
Dawn, is that cork fabric? I need a little more information on that. And while she's popping that in the chat, hopefully. And what are you excited? Well, I probably know, but what are you excited about this weekend?
Well, after the release party on Saturday, I'm really excited for Sunday when I can come home and do nothing, I think is what I'm.
Yep.
Because I have found that when I release a new sewing pattern, I feel it's like a very emotional release for me.
Yeah.
And so I have to respect that and it's like a very vulnerable thing in a way, putting yourself out there. So, but I'm very excited to share it and see how people work with it.
Yeah, that's really
I've
exciting.
been loving wearing the shirt. So
very nice.
What about you?
Oh, me. Well, I have to defend my brand new apple tree against deer, so I'm kind of excited to put up a fence. So I just planted an apple tree last weekend, and 2 apples and a peach. And one of the trees, the deer have decimated the leaves on, which of course I should have known would occur.
Right.
I'm like, So I tied grocery bags to all the little, because it's just small. But I tied grocery bags to all the little branches today to try to like discourage them. So we'll hope that works for short term. So that's exciting.
We started building a separate detached building. My husband's building a music studio, and the deer used to come attack our garden, but now that the building's there, it's like created a natural blockade, which has been convenient. And then, living in a tiny house, to have a building that your husband can just go away and stay, and then it's the perfect lifestyle. So
Right. Absolutely. Let's see what else we have here. So Dawn popped in and said, cork fabric, hummingbirds and leaves is the print. Very fun. Janice says she's finishing the hems on a hand-woven rug and moving on to starting a new one. Nice. Marla says, working on the mock-up for Brooksand's top class and sleeping late on Sunday.
Go.
bonus points.
Yeah, I always love those days off where you worked so much and then you just do nothing. Well, those are my favorite.
Yeah, they feel well deserved, don't they?
They do.
Oh, well, we should get started in earnest. So I want to thank everyone for being here, all of you for coming to this final show today, and not only the speakers, who it's amazing that you've come back. We had such a good time that the idea of bringing a panel together just felt like perfect, like so much fun. But I'm grateful for all of you who are here to be part of it and to engage with us and to listen, and to maybe you brought some show and tell. That would be pretty awesome too. So today with me, I have Mary Grabenstatter. I said that very smoothly, didn't I?
Yeah, but correct.
Of Needle, she has a company, Needle Sharp, which all of the links to everybody here you can get on the webpage. She's joining us from a friend's house in New York State, not New York City. So I should clarify that. We also have Brooksand Camper.
Hi.
Woohoo!
Right. And Ann Tilley. And so we are excited to be here. So today I thought we will begin by talking a little bit about the little things that we do to sort of elevate the project. So whether that's making the fit a little better or adding a special little something in it, or some ways that we can sort of slow down the process, if you will, and have something that makes it extra special. So that theme seems to have come up throughout the last 2 weeks quite a lot, right? Like going that little extra step. And then we're going to do a little show and tell. Actually, within each one. So I'll have each person talk about what their tip is and give us their show and tell. And then we're going to have any of you who brought yours jump on and do that as well. So as before, pop your questions in the chat or your comments in the chat. And we would love to engage with you. So Mary, would you like to start us off?
I'm going to say something super controversial.
Ooh.
And I like to leave an error in my sewing.
Yeah.
Not always on purpose, but I had someone tell me when I was knitting that in some cultures, perfect things are considered cursed. And so they intentionally add an error to their knitting. And I've kind of taken that as, if I screw up, okay, then it just won't be cursed. And like what I'm wearing now, I forgot to top stitch the pocket, so I had to hand sew it, and that's my little imperfection. It's not following the pattern. And it does make it extra special when you're like, no, I hand sewed that on because I couldn't do buttonholes on my machine. So it's a hand sewn buttonhole and it looks really weird, but it's, the thing that's mine. And actually for the show and tell, I brought a pair of jeans. I remember Brooksand, you said you sewed jeans last weekend, and I really love to sew jeans. And I have my terribly sewn pocket or buttonhole because my machine will not sew buttonholes with.
Let's get closer. Let's see it.
Yeah, we want to see the terrible.
I think it looks great. I love it. But you're not controversial in this crowd, I don't think. Like the mark of the maker, and seeing the
But the thing I
stitching.
did with this is it's all red top stitching, as opposed to the yellow or the gold that you get. So they're like perfect, like nobody has the red top stitching out there, so they're perfectly mine. So that's my
Well-
little controversial thing.
Wait, Mary, I have a question. So that buttonhole, was that before you got your new machine?
It was. I made these 2 months ago, I think. And they're selvage jeans because I bought this like Japanese selvage and I was like, I need to try and make them. And they're the Helene jeans from Anna Allen or Helena. I don't know how to pronounce it. But yeah, the top stitching, I also had to hand sew the bar tacks because my machine would not handle bar tacks with top stitching thread. So anything with thicker thread I had to do by hand.
Oh, it looks great. They look great.
I really need to take Brooks Ann's class at Camp Workroom Social so I can get better at my hand stitching.
See you in October.
Entirely possible.
Actually, Anna or Brooks Ann, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have any quick tips? I mean, like totally on the spot. Do you have any quick tips for improving hand sewing? Since it's
Well, yes,
pertinent?
I mean, that could be my segue. My tool, you said to bring tools, and I brought some hand sewing tools. We can talk
Okay.
about them now.
We'll come back to that then.
Okay.
We'll come back to that. All right, Mary, do you have anything else to share?
Oh, other show and tell?
Yeah.
So I did bring the jumpsuit, capital letter boiler suit I brought that we
The
talked
big
about.
B?
Yeah, with the capital B
Yeah.
and the zipper. It's you can't see it on this.
You know
but
what?
I turned, this was supposed to be a button placket and I turned it into a zipper and some snaps. And it's a little weird. I also had to hand sew some stuff because I made it up as I went along, along the inside. And then we talked about the back stay. It's supposed to be like 2 little tabs and I turned it into a back stay.
Very nice.
And short sleeves. I made it short sleeved. Basically, it's a new pattern entirely with where Merchant and Mills did the drafting.
That
Is it
very
like a dark teal color?
Yeah, it's you'd probably call it deep Atlantic or forest.
I love it. I love the color.
And it's a linen cotton blend from Atelier Brunette. And it's like the perfect weight. Once I found that pattern, I've had it in my head for like 3 years and never found the perfect fabric. And once I found that, I was like, okay, now I'm making it. Oh, and I also have my little, it's probably backwards, but my little label that my mom gave me. So for the really special ones, I sew this label in to remember her.
How did you put the snaps in for that project?
They're hand sewn snaps. So it's just sewn on.
See, you're doing great already.
I just finally bought myself like a nice like cast iron snap setter, like a tabletop.
Oh.
I don't have one of those. I have one of like the wrench ones, but I didn't want the spring snaps because they jingle. And so I put these in so that they're, exactly where I want them to be. And they don't, I needed it for this part because I added it at the very end and I didn't want it to show on either side. So they're hand sewn.
Very cool.
Invisible.
That is,
Yeah.
I'm shocked that fabric is a linen cotton blend because it has quite a bit, from what I can tell, it has quite a bit of body to it.
It does. It's probably about 7 ounces. So it's a perfect like jumpsuit weight.
Yeah.
It is very wrinkly. I had it in my bag, just kind of shoved it in my bag. And so you could like, when I wear it later this week, I'm going to look a little rumpled, but I am okay with wrinkles. I'm okay with errors in my, my sewing and wrinkles. So I'm fine.
Very nice. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Like, I'm like, maybe I need one of those now. I doubt it.
Great pattern. But every single time everyone said that it was too voluminous. So what I did, going back, I added, it's supposed to be back darts, and instead I did release tucks. I don't know, release tucks to get rid of a lot of people add elastic, but I did the release tucks to give it enough room through the chest, but it fitted waist.
Yeah. Probably everybody who's listening knows this because they are garment sewists, but like anytime that you're looking to remove volume or add volume, you can do all sorts of things. You can do gathers, you can do darts, you can do tucks, you can do pleats, right? There are so many ways to add and release volume, and that's, you can always change that out.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I am used to going in a clockwise position, and for me, next, that would be Roxanne.
Okay, well then we'll start with the tool stuff that I was gonna share. So Tina asked us to think about elevating our projects, and I think a really good way to become to get out of the beginner stage faster is to stop using beginner grade tools. And so I'm not like saying you need to buy the fanciest thing there ever was, but if you're like, sometimes if you hate ironing, it might just be because you have a cruddy iron or something like that. And so I think a lot of hand sewing is about the needle. I think maybe you're sewing with a needle that's not appropriate for hand sewing. So anyway, my favorite hand sewing needles, I will show you. So you always want to have like a nice, sharp, like not brand new, but not like something you inherited from your grandmother, needle. And so the tricky thing about the needle, right, is that you're going to have to thread it. and so people think, well, then I need the big needle. I need the needle with the big eye, because that's going to make this less frustrating.
Right.
But I say instead, get the tiniest size needle that you can have and get a needle threader. And then you're done with that. And so you can, like, I would say, use the smallest needle for the project. And so my favorite needles are all these different Japanese styles. You're not going to be able to see these. So they come in like adorable packaging. They have like, I'll show a couple of different ones. So these are the ones I like. They come in this little like foil wrapped. There's like going to be like, maybe 20 or 30 in there. So you're going to see like, okay, this packet costs like $20, but you start to treasure your needles. Like I keep them, I save them, until they're bent or not doing well. Like I'll use the same needle over and over. So I think great needles are a great investment. And my second most favorite, also Japanese, and these are probably easier to find. So these are called TEC Tokyo needles. But I do get them on Amazon from a place called Shibori Dragon. A lot of times they're out of stock, but then they'll come back in stock. So if you see them in stock, get you some of these. That's one of the things, like at my camp class, like I give everybody 2 of these. And then all of a sudden they're an expert hand sewer. And so like it makes the rest of the class really easy and fun. But one that's more easily found is, they're called Tulip Hiroshima needles. I like the ones that are just called sewing needles, number 9. I like a 9 or a 7, but that means the different lengths. And I think people will just have different personal preferences. So I do think they have like an assortment pack with a few different ones. Oh, but the fun packaging. So you get through here, and then there's an adorable little canister that also has the little needles in it. So that's cute. And the other one I don't have right here are called Roxanne basting needles, and they're long needles. And so you can use them for just basting things really fast. You can put lots of stitches on one. So I only use those for basting, but I do a lot of basting. And so having a needle that's specific for basting, but I always have my students do their basting with the teeny needle, because then you gain all the muscle memory at the time where you're doing like the stuff that nobody's ever going to see, the stuff that's going to get pulled out temporary. And so while you're doing temporary stitches, you're gaining hand sewing skills for the permanent stitches that you might want to use later, or maybe not. Do you want to see how this needle threader works?
Absolutely.
So this needle threader, so only this one, the Clover needle threader, I think it's, I don't know, it also might be like $20, but it's your lifesaver. Because there's lots of different needle threaders that are garbage. So this is the only one that's not garbage that I know of. Let's see. Okay. So I get out my thread.
I love it.
And all you do is you put your thread through this little groove. You put your needle eye side down, no matter how tiny. Watch it not work this time. And then you just push this little button and then it's threaded. And now you can go on with the rest of your life and enjoy hand sewing forever.
So Brooke, use that every time you thread the needle? Is that a common thing for you to use every time?
It is now that I am an old person and I have to wear readers. So not in the past, no. But I've really gotten into it lately. Like I can also show you like how to thread it using your eyeballs. But this, I mean,
Game
I've
changer.
never seen one of those, so that's blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, get you one.
Yeah, I know. So like, do you guys ever use the needle threader on your sewing machine?
My sewing machine doesn't
never
have
get mine
one.
to work.
Right. Me either. Like they suck, right? Like I don't even teach people when I teach classes. I never even, they're like, what is this? I'm like, it's nothing. Don't even look at that. Or look at your manual and figure it out if you want to, and I'll help you if you really want to, but I never do. I wonder if people will put in the chat if they use the needle threader in their sewing machine. But like if it worked like that, I might use it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's almost foolproof. Like, I have, it's the one. And my machine doesn't have, and I've never used a machine that had a needle threader before. So I wonder what that experience would be like, but it sounds like not so great.
Well, not for me or you guys.
On my first machine, it broke like the third time I used it. It just cracked off. But as I said, it was a very cheap machine. And then I got the Bernina 3 weeks ago, and I've managed to successfully thread the needle, I think, twice. Like they just don't work.
Well, and Ann, what's your experience? Same?
I mean, I don't have machines with it, but teaching, I find that it's such a thin little hook that it can get bent or broken really easily. And then it's so thin that you don't even notice that it's broken or it's misaligned. Right. And so it's really like, I feel like if your machine's new and it's like staying aligned, it can work. Or actually yesterday I was at my local maker space working on this 10 needle embroidery machine, and it has automatic needle threading on it, which is amazing. But yeah, one of them, the little hook broke, and so you can't even use it.
Wow. So in the chat, I can see that we have 5 comments, and all of them are, I love my needle threader on my machine.
It's not bad.
Yeah, that's very fun. Roxanne, I also wondered if you might share, like, I don't know if you can describe this with using words, but how does it feel different when you use a needle that is quality versus like the one that you inherited from your grandma that's like not size appropriately? Like, what is the difference in how they operate? Can you describe?
Well, I'll do my best. So I don't sew with cruddy needles, so I don't have that experience like offhand. But usually they're too thick or too dull, and so you're having to work through the fabric instead of just having it glide through. Like when you have a nice needle, the needle is nothing. The needle is just, it's not a chore. So if it's a chore, if you feel like hand sewing, you feel like you are really having to work to make your stitches, get like a beautiful buttery, nice new needle, and then cherish it, like keep it safe. And
very nice. Perfect. That's a perfect answer. Thank you. What else do you have to show us?
So I when you said show and tell, I was like, I don't have anything to show. And then now I have piles of stuff. So one thing so I have sort of a couple of themes. One, I have a story. I could talk about what I have on now. Another is I do have like my wedding dress, if you guys want to talk about elevated fancy stuff. And then I've got a couple of like denim projects. So choose your own adventure or
Oh,
Well, I definitely want to see your jeans that you just made
okay.
because
okay.
we were
Well,
hearing you
that's
talk.
one thing. They're not just made. Like, this is Brooks Ann. I started them this week. They're not. So I guess that kind of leads.
Fair.
I bet that, but this is what we're going to show you. So one thing also, I thought it'd be fun to show you how I store projects while I'm working on them, because especially if I have like multiple projects or wedding dress pieces or whatever.
Right.
And you guys know I don't like to fold stuff. I like everything to be rolled. So I keep all my projects, like let's see, everything from my projects like rolled up in tissue paper. So, you know, here's like buttons, here's like some zipper options. I do have this is huge for me though. I do have the front pockets are done. I got the back yoke together. I've got this pin together, but haven't actually taken it to the sewing machine yet. Because I decided I didn't want either of these zippers and I had to order a zipper, and then zipper didn't come until today. So I moved on to another project, but I do want to show you guys this because, so then you do the most fun part instead. So I worked on the patch pockets. So I always like to do something fun for the patch pockets. So I decided to do like a fern this time. So
Definitely elevating your project, taking your time doing something like that.
Yeah.
Where's my other part? Okay, so here's one that I did already. So like it's dark. I don't know. Like I wish it was more contrast, but I didn't want it to just be white. I don't know. So this is how it has come out. And then this one is in process. So how I made this was, again, tissue paper. I just took tissue paper and traced this and then pinned it to the top and then just drove along the lines. And then the next thing I'll do is, so I saved this for you guys. I can't do the whole thing, but then you just pick it all off and then.
So I have a quick question for you. I've never used my sewing machine like this. I know people do, but how do you make it so that your sewing machine will let you drive around your project?
You have to turn off the feed dogs, right?
I mean, you can also just have really short stitches.
The post is froze.
You're back.
You're back.
Okay.
Did you catch the question?
No.
So I've never used my sewing machine like that to draw on my fabric, but I'm intrigued by it. So how do you make that so that your sewing machine will allow you to do that? Like, what do you do to your sewing machine?
The only thing I have, like, the only function on my machine that I really use is the needle down. So where it will always end with the needle in the fabric. And then I just go one stitch at a time and kind of move it around. And the only regret I ever had about this machine is that it doesn't have a knee bar. Some machines will have a knee bar where it'll pick the presser foot up for you. And so I thought when I picked this, I was like, this is going to be the one where I'm like, oh my gosh, I really wish I had that knee bar, but I actually found it really fun. Like I'm just like moving it with all 10 fingers, Ann Tilley style. And I'm just picking up the presser foot, turning it doing a couple stitches, picking up the presser foot, turning it, and then if it'll let me do a little this, and I'm not trying to like match it precisely. Like I'm just trying to get the general vibe of it. And then, but it was really fun. So that's that project.
So like Mary suggested, do you lower your feed dogs?
No.
You leave them there. And then I know that there's a darning foot that is.
Oh, I do have I use a clear foot.
Okay.
So I can see through it. Or one with a big hole. But you know what? I do that almost always anyway, because I'm sewing on a stitch line. So I almost always choose the foot that has like a lot of visibility around it.
That makes sense. And then do you, like, I'm so intrigued. So like when you're doing it, are you using your hand crank a lot, or are you actually using your foot pedal to create your stitches?
My foot pedal.
Okay.
And I have to use my hand for the presser foot and to push everything around. So anyway, that was fun.
Coordination.
Only 10 fingers, for crying out loud.
Yeah. So then so the last time I did them, it's on my blog. I did these ones with the birds on them. You can't really see it because it's all fading now. But as far as the denim projects, like these jeans I wear literally every single day, and wash day is on Sunday. And so these are, so I wear these every day in the winter, fall, and I wear this skirt every day in the summer, spring, and that's it, y'all. I don't have a lot of clothes. Like these do it for me. But as I said, I always like to get a little extra to do stuff. And then if I don't have extra, what do you do with the extra? So then I took the extra of these two fabrics, and now I've got this skirt, but it's made out of scraps, these scraps and these scraps. And now I've got a new one for summer. And what I regretted about this one was that I didn't put any pockets on the back. But by the time I decided that all this had faded, like this is the same fabric. You can see that I've just worn it thousands of times. So it didn't look good. It didn't match. But this one, I decided I wanted pockets. And then I used there was not enough to do like a whole pocket of this. But I had if I put like a little more scraps. So you can make stuff out of scraps.
And doesn't that feel so great to be able to make such a staple item that you can just enjoy every day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So my sewing for myself is always either I have to go to the wedding where I made the wedding dress, and somebody is going to ask me if I made my own dress, and I need the answer to be yes. So I have to make myself something, or I'm on camera, or, I just make something for, this was for a headshot in 2023. It's probably I think it's been the one on my thing. And I never wore this because I bought this fabric. I'm taking up too much time. I bought this fabric, and so it's Yves Saint Laurent dead stock. It's got the cute hearts and kissy lips and lightning bolts and stuff. And I liked this, and this was one of the only times I bought fabric on an impulse purchase where I didn't know what I was going to make with it. And then when I got it, I realized I don't like wearing or sewing black. And so I never knew what to do with it. But then I was like, okay, well, I need a headshot anyway. I'll just try to make some design that looks kind of cool up at the top. And then I made this top, and I never hemmed it. I never decided what length it would be. But I had to go to Ann Tilley's thing this weekend, and my jeans are not finished. And so I was like, okay. So what I did since this whole thing started is I made a dirndl skirt, and now it separates. And so now I'm gonna wear it all the time. I finished before. In fact, I was gonna ask you guys to help me pick a hem length, but then I was like, no, that's perfect. So I think so this literally was just, I took the fabric 24 inches and ripped it, put a seam down the middle just so I can make pockets, and then sewed the seams down and put an elastic waist on it. And now I have an outfit.
Impressive. Proud of you.
Very nice. So Brooke-Ann, we do wanted to get a visual of your wedding dress. We're not going to let you talk about it. I'm sorry, because we do have to move to Ann, but just show us it real quick, and then we'll move on. Because how can we not, right?
So here's my wedding dress from 2008. It's cute. It's got all the little buttons down the back.
Oh.
And I don't know, you can't really tell what the bust line detail was. And then it had this little shorty jacket because I got married outside in March. No set-in sleeves, cut in one, gusset, Dior sleeves, cotton. And the story I was going to tell, I'll tell really quick, was just that days before the wedding, I found these shoes, and I was like, okay, those are the shoes. And then I decided to add this collar on because I was like, wouldn't that be cute? But this was before I was a wedding dress maker or whatever. I was just making the thing for myself. And so I decided to put this collar on, but I didn't really have any interfacing. And all I had was tie backing. And so I was like, I'll do it with tie backing. And so like this collar looks really bad. I mean, to a standard of like people looking at me and seeing it in my portfolio. But I love it. And yeah. And so anyway, if you see like some of my early stuff, you're gonna be like, oh, is she really a couturier or whatever? But well, kind of.
There is something huge to be said about making do with what you have.
Yeah.
And Brooks Ann helped me on my wedding dress when I was making my own dress too. So
Yep.
Excellent. Anne, what you got to show us?
I'm up. Well, it's funny because I've already pivoted what I'm going to say just in response to everyone. And I really enjoyed Mary's comment about the imperfection. And it kind of made me think about how I'm totally okay with wearing handmade garments where like the hem is not finished, or there's just things that are like less than ideal. I think especially when you get older and you're kind of getting released from that self-consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd be curious to hear if other people feel the same way, like if they're totally okay with wearing unfinished garments or less than perfect or workable muslins, you know, or do you wait and make something just right, you know, before you wear it?
Yeah, pop that in the chat if you will. That answer that question for us. I'm somewhere in the middle. Like I'll definitely wear wearable muslins, and then if I see somebody that I've taught or like, you know, I'm at the retreat that I'm doing and someone's like, let me see the inside. I'm like, oh no. Okay, you can, but here's the thing, you know.
Yeah, we have like this reputation that we have to have like really nice clothes. So that's the only reason why I have nice clothes is because you guys expect me to.
I find I do that with knits because you don't have to finish them very well, or like I hate hemming, and so I'll just not hem knit sleeves and just roll them up.
Yeah.
Nobody has to see them if they're rolled up.
Right. Well, now I have to show you this. So like I made this dress. I love the sleeves. It's like this swashbuckling, right, dress. And then it's a rayon that I did in 2 layers. I don't know if you can see it. It's also very, no, you can't. But I had to line it. And the edge is just serged because I haven't gotten around to flipping it and finishing it. And I'm walking around town the other day and I've still got the tail sticking up. And my friend's like, oh, you have something on your leg. I'm like, oh no, I just haven't gotten to putting that in yet.
That's a design detail. That's a design detail.
Exactly. But you can say if you make it yourself.
Yeah.
Like I meant to do that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, sewing people love it. Like, we love to like look in each other's clothes and say like, you know, or whatever. Or like if I saw someone with like threads and stuff, you know, little pink edges stuck to their thing, I would think like that person is cool. So
Nice. Very nice.
Somebody who accidentally walked out with their thimble. Anyway, it's Ann's show and tell.
Well, I just like doubled my show and tell because I'm actually in my house today, and listening to Brooks Ann talk, I started grabbing things. So, so in response to Brooks Ann and in continuation with the conversation about the embroidered details, so this is a pair of pants I made for my husband, and I had the idea to put his initials on the side of the pocket, so AWJ. Yeah. And I actually thought about it as I was doing the top stitching. So I started to like pivot and do the lettering. And I don't even change my foot. I just go slowly and pivot. But the crucial thing is to have a chalk line or you know, something that you're following. And then of course, if your initials are all straight, it gets a lot easier. But I've enjoyed this so much that I've made this on multiple of his pants. So my tip that I completely changed it just like thinking about these pants. So my tip for elevating, which is something that I've been like really personally interested in the last couple years, is like really personalizing your clothes for your specific body and your specific needs. And I know that to an extent we're definitely doing that, but like really getting nerdy about it. So for example, I talked about adding a gusset into your crotch if you're prone to, you know, your thighs rubbing together. Yeah. And so, you know, like literally customizing your garment based on how you wear your clothing, right? So this is a new pair of pants for my husband. And then I went ahead and added a stretch gusset so that he didn't accidentally tear his crotch. The other thing that I started doing is he always carries a Leatherman multi-tool with him. So I started adding this extra durable piece right where he clips it so that it can help hold it in.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like for his jeans, I started adding a knee patch because he was always making holes there. And I had to eventually like continue extending. So, you know, a conventional pair of jeans has a yoke, right? And as far as I'm aware, this is mainly for shaping, right? Around the butt.
Right.
Well, his butt is shaped like this, right? Completely flat. And he actually wears this seam down, and usually he wears holes right here. So I decided to just get rid of the yoke entirely, since it was something that wasn't even serving him, since that's the shape of his rear end.
Yeah.
It's completely flat.
Oh, he's in them right now. Is that what you're saying?
So like, I mean, I know me as like a nerd, I just like love the idea of like observing how your garment's getting worn out and how can I protect it? Or do I have, you know, a point of wear because I'm always putting my multi-tool in my pocket and I need to, oh, the other thing I did with these pants is he always tears holes in the pocket bags. So I decided to just double up the pocket bag. So you can kind of see it's like two different fabrics. So I don't know yet if this is going to really help, but we'll find out in a year or two.
Yeah.
I also put a little note in there. I love to put the date when I make something just to help me, you know, just to see how long something lasts.
Ann Tilley, I want you to make me some jeans. Like, what? These are amazing.
Well, I'm like Mary, I love to make jeans. And because of my training in the production, I know it all by memory. And so for me, it's a fun project. And I've set up my studio. I have all the tools. And, you know, for my husband, he just has one pair of pants that he wants, you know, and so you can get really tight in on the pattern.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to not have to think about fit, and you can just grab the pattern and cut the garment out. And
yeah.
So anyway, so that's my little tip and something that I've been enjoying doing lately in my sewing.
That was so inspirational. Like you know, and I was going to talk about when it's my turn, I was going to talk about how like those little things just like make it so much more special. And like how you put the initials, like when you just began the initials on the side like that, first of all, it's like got so much style to it and like so cool looking. And then also like every time you see it, you get to like touch it. So when I was married, I once did some visible mending on my husband's pants. And every time he'd sit next to me, I would like rub the visible mending because I'm like, oh, I just love this visible mending. And he's like, are you just rubbing your stitch work? And I'm like, you know, it's not like inappropriate here, but I'm like, oh, no, I was just glad that you're here.
That's fun. And also, I did, well, this is a little out of character for me, but Brooks Ann will appreciate this, is I've actually gotten to where I really love hand sewing the one buttonhole. And my first ones looked really bad, but I've done maybe 10 of them by now. And I've gotten my system down where I double up the thread and you know, you can get a certain thickness, you know, look. And I use my little, you know, fabric punch to punch the little hole to kind of create the keyhole. I actually filmed a YouTube tutorial on how I like to do it, but I haven't published it yet. So maybe I will. But I do like that hand sewing. And it's just one buttonhole. So it's like.
Yeah. That is so cool. That is so cool. So my one tip that I was going to add is I love to put labels, and some of you probably are already big fans of this, but I love to put labels in my garments. And so this is like an ancient dress that I made so long ago that you can actually see through it now. But I used to put like little knit labels in, I'm all crooked, that I would, sorry, that's awkward, that I would embroider on. And sometimes like this was just a strange shape that I thought was interesting, and I would put them in my garment. I also would take a bunch of fabric and print on them and put these in as a label. And I know that a lot of you are like, why would you put a label in your clothes? Because like we like to cut the label out of our clothes because it's itchy and it's scratchy and it's such a pain. But there's so much beauty, like there's so much joy that I get when I get into my closet and I look at something that I've made. So like this dress that I wore last Friday, and I see my own little label in it. And this is a label I had made for my retreat last. Can you guys see that? Boy, I'm awful at this. I'm horrible at this, but this is a little label that I made for my retreat last fall. So I always make everybody, so this is actually the design of it, but I make everybody little gifts as they come to the retreat. And so I made, I got these on Etsy. They're just a soft twill and they're very soft. They're not itchy. And I absolutely love them in my garments. Not that I won't still do some hand ones, some handmade ones sometimes, but like I love, you know, I have a fairly robust rear head. And so like when I look at leggings, it's pretty obvious my front from my back, but there's still this beauty to like when you grab your leggings or your skirt and you're like immediately know where the back is because you got this little label in it. So
I was thinking about that too. I add sometimes if I can't tell or if it's symmetrical, I'll just add like a little piece of twill tape so that I know this is the back.
Yeah, because early in the morning, I don't want to sit there and think about what's front and back, you know?
Nobody needs that decision making. Like I already sometimes put my underwear inside out. Like I don't need more things to think about.
It still works. It still works that way. It's fine.
Like not very often, but sometimes it happens. So I do love putting labels in. And then I also love oh, now that is fancy.
That was from an old production run, and I just cut off the other collaborator that's on the top and just.
I have found if you get the thicker labels that are itchy, if you just satin stitch around all the edges, then it doesn't really irritate you.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Roxanne, do you put any labels in your stuff?
Well, when I started my bridal business in 2010, like I bought 100 labels of like my name in gold, and I made 20 dresses in 10 years. And so I put those in everything, like, and if anybody, you know, at camp wants any, like I'm tossing them out. And I've gotten through, I think I'm almost out of them now. So lately my stuff has not had labels in it. And so now I do kind of miss it.
Right. And so for a long time, I thought that I might like do something. I've done lots of things. Like, so if I've made something for someone, sometimes I'll embroider a little message and then put it in there. And I'll actually stitch this on all four sides into it so that you can see the stitch mark on the back side of it. Because I think that's really interesting so that you can see that there's something in there.
So you guys can see. So for my wedding dresses, I would always do this, and then that's just my label, and then I would put the couple's initials and the wedding date, and all of my stuff and all the stuff for everybody else.
Very nice. Very nice. And I also, my other tip would be to, this really falls into what everyone here is saying, is to like taking your time at the details, like really elevating like one or two things about it. So this is a simple fit and flare dress, which I have as a core pattern. So kind of like what Ann is saying is that I have this pattern that I know fits me really well. I don't have to worry about it. And I can do anything I want with it now. Like I can make any kind of design choices I want with it because I can just go with it. And so I decided I wanted to, it's a raglan sleeve, obviously. I decided I wanted something a little more romantic. And when I wore it last Friday, Roxanne coined it as sporty and sexy at the same time. And so I used lingerie elastic for the neck binding. And then I did not have enough of this stretchy lace. And so I pieced it together. So rather than just like bang this out, which I can in like 25, 30 minutes, it seems, I took my time, I slowed down, and I lined up my lace. I don't know if you can see it, but I lined up my lace so that I got an interesting seam line. Mm-hmm. And then I put it in, and like just that little bit, even though it's like the same, I didn't change the shape of it. I didn't change much about the style of it, really. I just used a different kind of fabric than I normally use. And then I also added this little bit of, it's probably curling on me right now, but this little elastic at the waist, because then that gave it sort of this like thin little vintage belt look to it. And I added lace to the bottom, which you can see my string right there. My thread. So all of those were enough to like take this very basic shape that I use all the time and like, oh, now this is my special dress, you know?
Well, and it's nice the way that you did sort of it in threes. So you have the black lace on the sleeves and then on the waist and on the hem. For the like for Adam's jeans, he didn't really need these on the back, but I thought it would be awkward to just have one spot of detail
Mm-hmm.
and that it would be kind of more balanced of a design to just repeat that fabric. So
Yeah.
actually, I just repeated 3 times, which is usually a golden, design rule. So
The rule of threes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's something that really, I don't know if people talk about enough is like when you make your own clothing, you are a clothing designer.
Mm-hmm.
And being a clothing designer is not easy. I mean, I went to college to do it. I've studied for years. I have trained to be one. But I did not have confidence in being a creative designer for a long time. I liked the technical design, but I was like scared of like just coming up with something that would look good, And so I wonder how people who aren't designers, if that's intimidating for them to know, how to put things together. And I know with my patterns, I've been trying to show a lot of variety so that I'm like, here, maybe you can find an idea and please like copy what I've done because I've thought about this like to a ridiculous degree and I'm trying to make this easy for you. And so I don't know what y'all think about that.
I think looking at ready to wear stuff, like you go into Target and you're not buying anything, but then you're like, oh, they used this color together, or like just kind of stealing what you can from them. Like this shirt I'm wearing, I went into J. Crew a month or so ago and they had all these double gauze shirts. And I was like, I never even thought about making a double gauze button down. And now like this will be my summer shirt and I'll wear it everywhere. So stealing where you can from designers, I guess.
And that's kind of what design is just like copying and compiling lots of ideas and then using those. Like, it's not like, I'm going to make a dress. I need it, like it's always almost directly inspired by something. And then more stuff kind of tossed in. And I like this, but I wish it had this. And then now you're a designer. Like the design is also like that's the bottom for me. Like it's fun, but it's not something that necessarily comes natural. You really do kind of have to like play around.
Yeah. But I wish it has this is like my idea of design. Like it's always like, I really like this pattern, but, and then I figure out what to do.
Yeah. So following that but, right? Like following that but to the next, like the thing that you can shift on it to where it's like perfect for you.
It's like fashion, yes, and fashion improv.
Exactly.
Yes, and
I love it. It is why it's actually the only thing I use Pinterest for is garnering ideas. So like I have tons of boards on like my core patterns that I have tons of boards on like how to change them up. So when I'm like feeling like I want to make something and I know I want it to be this and I want to feel this way about it, I'll go to my Pinterest board and just get inspiration and be like, I think I want to try a sleeve sort of like this and maybe add that to it. So definitely like garnering ideas is so important.
That's how I came up with this like design. When I was like, okay, I need something just for a headshot. I went to Pinterest and was like, interesting necklines. And I was kind of like, okay, something kind of like that, but okay. I didn't really copy it, but I kind of did. I don't know.
That's how so I'm a graphic designer as well, right? And like, I think all the arts, we find inspiration somewhere and then we shift it and make it our own. And that is actually how the process goes as far as I understand. Like, I don't know anybody who doesn't have something that's inspiring their work.
Oh yeah. And I mean, like fashion is considered a utilitarian design. So that's why it's so hard to copyright anything. Like you only have to change a design by 15% before it becomes original. And that's just because everyone should be entitled to clothing. But also like if you're making something for yourself to wear, like who cares? Like if the second you start selling it, I think is when you get into a gray area. But like if you see something that you're inspired on Pinterest, like I saw a girl walking on the street downtown and had this amazing dress on. I just went home and sewed the exact dress.
Yeah.
And
the sewing thing where you're stalking people of like, no, what are you wearing?
with the camera. I mean, your phone.
Yeah. And so like sometimes what I'll do if I really just want to make something that I've seen is I'll try not to go back to the exact picture and try to make it from memory, so that in hopes that I'll kind of like make it different in my own way. But I also don't have a lot of shame when I'm just making something for myself to just copy something that I'm inspired by.
Right. Because there's nothing new also. Like we're all just putting together these ideas and that have been out there for so long.
Guys, I just got my first endless summer sale on my
It's
website.
already happening. Congratulations.
That is so exciting. Okay, so I know that there are lots of comments that we've not had a chance to check out. And also I want to see, what did you bring as a listener, as a guest to the show? What did you bring to the show? And if you have something and you want to get online and show it to us and share it with us, raise your hand and we'll get you on here.
Do it.
And people can also unmute themselves today. That should be turned off.
Oh,
and in case, because there's so many great comments in here, but I had to put in that Christina, she has a custom stamp made and she stamps the back of her clothes.
Wow.
Very
cool. What are you stamping it with, Christina? Like, what is the ink? And does it like wash? Obviously it must stay in the wash, right?
Like a
I
block.
put you on the spot. I can put you on the spot because I just can. So
Christina, you are welcome to come off mute or you're welcome to type.
says the voice in the background.
Archival ink that I heat press. Wow.
Very nice. Thank you.
I love the idea of using a stamp too, because you can make as many or as few as you need.
Right. You don't have 100 gold labels that you have to figure out. If you
Although I do need a Brooks Ann label now, so.
Right. Yeah.
I'll see if I can find some.
Marla says, I do like hand sewing buttonholes. Dawn says, Anne, you are so practical, and adding the gusset is such a good idea, and I am sure it will help with moving your legs.
Oh, thank you.
And Amanda said, actually, exactly what I was thinking when Anne was talking. It's a good thing my hubby or partner isn't listening to this episode. I'd have to up my game. And you're my hero. I thought that exactly when you were talking, like, oh my gosh. Wow.
We're all getting divorced.
He's a woodworker and he builds me lots of things. So and he builds all my frames for my artwork. So oftentimes if he works hard for me, then I'll like kind of trade him with a garment. So
very nice. Well, we had somebody up. Are you coming back? It looks like we have, I'm just going to go to Carol. Carol Johnson, you raise your hand. Hop on in.
Okay, you're going to have to look at me. I've been out in the yard working all day, so my hair is in braids and a little frizzy.
Fabulous.
I'm trying to change it. Can you guys see Carol on the screen, or is it just us? So, there we go. Cool.
So I made a wearable muslin yesterday. It was a pattern that I've had forever that I bought at the store, and I just haven't had the gumption to try making it. And it's a simple pattern, but it's just sat there forever. So yesterday I thought I'm going to make that shirt because I ordered some pink fabric and I thought this color is not going to do me justice. It's just too pale and washes me out. So I thought, okay, I'll make a muslin out of it. So it's a wrap top and it looks terrible to try to like hold it up because it just kind of like sags. But I did the gathering, the ruching on the side. I hand stitched that to gather it up. And then my cover stitch is giving me fits and it keeps skipping stitches. So I kept trying everything to get it to stop and nothing was working. It's like, I don't care. I'm going to just put it together. It doesn't matter. So I had a pair of PJ bottoms that I had made that were brown and I didn't have anything to quite go with the brown bottoms. So this is going to be a PJ top.
Perfect.
It wasn't perfect. I was able to work through the pattern to see how it went together, and it'll be fine for PJs.
It looks super comfy.
It is. Then that's what I really loved about this material is it was so soft. It's like, I just want to wear this. I want it up against my skin. And then I've been working on jeans patterns, and mine are just a pull on. So super easy to put on, super easy to make. And I put little rivets in them. I don't know if you can see them. It's kind of washed out.
Mhm.
And then on the back, when I heard Roxanne say about how she put something on her pockets, I thought, I could put something on my pockets. So I didn't embroider it, but I just made a cute little heart that I zigzagged around and then cut it out.
I
Wow.
love it. That is beautiful.
And
Mhm.
so this is Tina's Kinship pants pattern. And what I did is with Tina's pattern, the pocket hits me right in the hip area where my, it dimples in, and it's not very flattering. So I
This
raised,
isn't my pattern. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm
yeah,
just
I
kidding.
raised the pocket entrance up on the side and brought it over further on the waistband. And then I also put it in a little coin pocket. And now my hip hits down here, not where the opening for the pocket is. So
It's perfect. And that really ties into what Ann was saying is like adjusting, which is what we all do, like adjust the pattern to better fit your body.
Thank you for sharing, Carol. I
Yeah.
also I get your pain about the cover stitch machine, and I've made a couple of YouTube videos about it, of things that have helped me with getting mine to work better. And I do kind of wish in the future that I'd probably buy a different brand in the future, but I've gotten mine pretty solid for the last couple of years, and I do love it. I think it's a nice tool. Do you use a cover stitch, Tina?
I don't. So I'm over here like, oh.
yeah, and it was working great until I used it as the top stitching on my jeans. And I've changed my needles twice. I've, did different things with my pressure and my tensions, and I just can't get it. But it's not quite a year old, and I can take it in and have them look at it. I changed my needles like twice, I said. So yeah, I'm not.
I do think it's not happy when you change it very often. I do think I've noticed that.
It seems to work fine on the heavier fabrics now, but when I tried to go back to my knits, it's not working. So
Yeah.
So before we get to Janice, because she's next, I do want to say, I know it is 1 o'clock. So if anybody, including our speakers here, if anyone needs to pop out, I totally understand that. I'd love to go for a few more minutes if we can though, and talk to a couple more people if they'd like to, but if you need to go, that's totally cool too. So, all right. Okay, Janice, do you want to jump in and chat with us?
Yes. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, so one of the tips I have, I don't know if anybody knows about this, but it's Superior Threads Vanish Extra. It's a thread that washes away. So if you're doing things that you want to try and you think you're going to alter that seam line, or you want to try putting something on us in a place and then try on the garment, having something that you stitch on and then you know it's going to wash away if you want to change it, or hit it with some water and you can take it off. That's a tip. And I was going to try and share screen and see if this works.
Okay. While she's doing that, have any of you ever used this wash away thread?
I've never even heard of it.
Nope.
Me either.
Would my picture happen to be up now?
It does.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a denim dress that I made into an apron. So
Fabulous.
that doesn't match it, but
So cute.
It is. I love
And-
that.
then I have one more to share just really quick.
Janice, before you change, well, you can change, but I have a question for you on that. Did you make your dress form?
Yes.
Nice.
Is the new one up?
Yep.
Okay, so this was a men's shirt that I made into an apron.
Aw.
And The flower pocket is an old hanky, so a vintage hanky. And then the chicken is a hand knit piece of fabric, a hand knit swatch out of fuzzy yarn
Oh,
that then gets appliqued.
Oh, wow.
So when you're doing applique, you can use something other besides fabric. You can actually use things you've knit.
that is so cute.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Hey, quick question for you, if you will. I don't think we have anybody else that's clamoring to get on just yet, but tell us about your dress form a little bit, if you will.
Jean Haas, which had been in many of the backs of the sewing magazines, at one time had a business in Chicago at Vogue Fabric. She held a class making your own dress form. And she duct taped me.
Okay.
You wear tight fitting clothes and she wraps you with duct tape. And then you take her second class to build the form, and her husband built the stand.
Oh, nice. Thank you. That's very cool.
I've always been fascinated by those duct tape, projects. So that's fun that you got to do it.
And the nice thing about when she helped you do the form after it was duct tape to stuff it, you put on lines, and she used like a laser to help you get all of the lines level with black ribbon. And so you have waist lines, hip lines, all of those lines built in.
Very cool. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Let's see. Let's see what other questions we might have. Christina says that vanishing thread is great for bra making. Interesting. And she loves the aprons. Everyone, thank you. This was amazing. Let's see if we have anything else. Christina also mentions that she buys her stamps from Cal Stamp. And let's see.
Recently, I've been playing. So I'm a big fan of my local makerspace in Greensboro, in North Carolina, and I've been using the laser etching or the laser machine to etch my own stamps, custom stamps. So, makers, we can just keep going deeper with everything. So.
Yes, yes, we can. Right. I mean, if I liked woven things, I could imagine weaving my own fabric, but I like knit, so there you go.
I also like the laser level to do the body lines so that you're not just like crooked. I've been tempted to do that for hemming because I've seen it where you can, hem your skirt with the laser level, like, a carpentry tool.
Right. That's amazing. Well, if you would like to chat with us or show us anything or put something in the chat, let us know here in a minute, but we'll kind of wind it up. This has been so amazing. I'm so grateful for all of you being here and for the guests being here. It's been so much fun to talk with all three of you, like all of us together. That's been really cool too. And I'm like, let's do this every week, but
I know I'm like having a great time. So
me too. Let's do it every week.
Okay. All right.
But I want to thank you, Tina. Like, this was great. This was amazing. And you were such an excellent host this whole time. And I feel like you really, as someone whose mission is to help people get fully lit up, like, look at us all lit up here. So thank you so much for all of this.
You are most welcome. So fun.
I mean, I definitely came out of this learning new things,
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, it's been a really fun show, and it's all because of you, Tina.
Oh, thank you. It's been a great time. We have a lot of thank yous, which is amazing. And then, but I did have one quick question from Dawn. I didn't want to miss it. She asked if she could see the dress form again. Janice, are you willing to pop that up again real quick, and then we'll say our goodbyes? I am so inspired. I want to like I have a big deadline today for my graphic design business, and I'm like, I want to go sew something. I don't want to do that.
Well, I've definitely got one more endless summer shirt to sew for the party tomorrow. So I still have a little bit of a deadline, but at least it's a fun sewing deadline.
That's true. All right. Oh, the cute chicken. There we go. How about that one? That looks pretty good. So you can see your ribbon lines there. That's very cool. So I'm guessing on the one side, it must be showing different sleeve lengths. Is that what that is?
Yes.
Very cool. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's on a turning. You can turn it.
Right. It looks like PVC or something to underneath.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's on a PVC pole from the top to the bottom.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that again. I appreciate you jumping on and showing it to us.
Okay.
All right, everyone. I hope you have the most wonderful weekend. And thank you again for being here. This has been so much fun. And I know that we're going to do something more because, like, how can we not? This has been too much fun. Mary, Roxanne, Ann, thank you for coming on today. And you guys know that there'll be a replay of this, and they're all available till June 1st. So you can share that with your friends and tell people about it. They can come and look at and watch all 10 hours if they want to.
Thank you so much, Tina, for making this happen. Had a great time.
Yes.
Thank you for having me and everyone.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Fare thee well.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.